Hey folks, Howard Schultz, the former CEO of Starbucks who just stepped down, has hinted that he may be running for president of the United States. Now, Howard Schultz is very open about his political views. He's a good friend of David Geffen, a top contributor to Hillary Clinton's campaign. And Howard Schultz, he says that national debt is a threat to national security, that it's time to cut the budget, right? Cut social spending, all these social programs we've got. And he says he's worried about the far left tone of the Democratic Party, Bernie Sanders, people like that, right? This idea that people should get health care and education provided to them. He's worried about it. He says national health care is not workable. Maybe they have it in France, Germany, Britain, Sweden, Australia, almost every other industrial country in the world, but for some reason it's just not workable. We can't have it over here. Howard Schultz, he's also a big advocate of U.S. military interventions around the world. And, the Israeli lobby, the American-Israeli Political Action Conference, likes him so much they've actually given him an award for his efforts to promote Israel and the Israeli agenda in the United States. Howard Schultz, that's who wants to be the next president of the United States, possibly. No formal announcement yet. And you know what's so disturbing about all of this? Now, Howard Schultz, this is a low-wage employer. His employees, ask anyone, if you know anyone who's ever worked at Starbucks, ask them about a clopening. A clopening, right? That's where they make employees work 6-hour shifts and then close down the store, then wait 3-4 hours, and then open the store up again and work another 6-hour shift. Basically a loophole where he can make employees work 12-hour days with a 3 to 4 hour break in the middle. Real classy of you, Howard, and it's a low-wage employer, too. Talk to anyone who works at Starbucks. They're not exactly making lots of money. Howard Schultz has got plenty of money. You can bet on that. There was this whole incident that happened recently at Starbucks where, African-Americans kicked out, basically arrested in the store for nothing other than being there. But it's all okay because Howard Schultz gave everyone an anti-racist sensitivity training. Gave them a sensitivity training, and they all, they had this really touchy-feely sensitivity training, and now it's all okay, right? It's okay that people got arrested for just sitting in the store. Howard Schultz, a low-wage employer who thinks that we've got to cut social spending and that we need to meddle more around the world, we need to be more interventionist around the world, who's really tight with the Israeli lobby. Howard Schultz, such an example of what is wrong with liberalism in the United States, right? Howard Schultz is about cutting social spending. He's about treating his employees badly. He's about meddling around the world. But because he uses, quote-unquote politically correct language, a lot of liberals, they love him, right? He's an advocate of gun control. He's an advocate of pay equality. He pays men and women, black and white, Latino, all of them get paid the same awful low wages in his open, his modern day Starbucks low wage service sector jobs, right? That's what being a liberal or a leftist has come to mean. It's not about, fighting for working people's rights. It's not about stopping the wars around the world. It's about everyone being nice and having nice sensitivity trainings like he gave, so that we know that the police, the police shouldn't arrest people in stores and that people shouldn't be arrested for just sitting there in a store, right? The Starbucks CEO, Starbucks America, clopening capitalism. That's what Howard Schultz is all about. Austerity, cuts, David Geffen. This is classic, right? This is Hillary Clinton, Wall Street, London, austerity, cutting social programs. This is the face of liberalism, and this is what the anti-Trump movement has come to stand for. If people are opposing Trump because of his anti-immigrant bigotry, that's one thing. If people are opposing Trump because of his alliance with the police and support for police brutality, that's another thing. But when people support Howard Schultz and that kind of Howard Schultz anti-Trump, the problem with Trump is he's a populist. He's too much for the common man, and he's not responsible with interventions. He doesn't want us to meddle around the world. He doesn't want us intervening, right? Howard Schultz, globalist, free market, low-wage austerity capitalism. That's what we're facing here in the United States. And I'll tell you, if this election coming up is Howard Schultz versus Donald Trump, I don't know who I would vote for. I'll tell you that. I probably wouldn't vote for either of the major candidates, just like the last time, because I'll tell you, this is what we're up against. The anti-Trump movement have basically aligned themselves with the most powerful forces in the world, who don't like Trump because he's too much of a populist. He appeals to ordinary people. He champions, he speaks as if he says he wants to transform the Republicans into a party of the working class. And so the anti-Trump movement have basically made Howard Schultz and that type of politics into their poster board. This is a mess. This is a political mess. And Howard Schultz is a great symbol of the society we're living in. Low wages, service sector jobs, but sensitivity trainings, politically correct language to go with it. This is a disaster. This is a big disaster, If anything, we need the politics of William Z. Foster, Eugene Debs, Gus Hall, fighting for the working class, fighting against racism, saying that opposing racism is good for all working people, and that opposing racism is about building solidarity and beating back the Wall Street attacks, opposing these wars, saying we need to focus on building a better life for working people in this country, not bombing and destroying countries around the world. That's the kind of politics we need. That's not the politics we're getting from the Democratic Party right now. It's not the politics being expounded by the Stop Trump movement. We're in a political crisis in the United States, and people need to realize that Howard Schultz and that kind of politics, that David Geffen, politically correct, low-wage austerity wars, that is not an alternative to Donald Trump.